has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
Okay, thanks, Andy Serkis. I'll take it from here. Right now, you can pre-order a handful of LEGO sets that are part of the Smart Play system. What does that mean? Well, it means these sets come with a brick, the Smart Brick, that does all sorts of things. LEGO announced it at the Consumer Electronics Show, and to hear them tell it, the Smart Brick is the biggest innovation in 48 years, because that is literally what they're saying.
For the 50 years since, the LEGO Play system has evolved. With every generation, always asking the one question, what's next?
Whoa!
That's what's next, kid. The LEGO Smart Brick is here.
LEGO's been teasing this for a few months, so it's cool to see it is actually here now. Here's kind of how it works. One of its key features is the scanner. It uses colors or machine-readable codes printed on LEGO tiles to operate, which produces sound effects. For example, if the scanner scans the color red, Mario will detect it as lava and pretend to lose a life. Wait, hang on, that's the Mario brick that came out 5 years ago. Is that the Smart Brick? Oh, here we go. The 2x4 Smart Brick has responsive lights, a color recognition scanner, a sound synthesizer, and a built-in accelerometer that detects how it's twisted, turned, and tapped during play. When it's placed on top of or close to a smart tag, one of those tiles, the Smart Brick becomes whatever the smart tag tells it to. It could be a helicopter, or a car, or a TIE fighter. It can also sense the presence of smart minifigs. It gives them unique sounds and moods and reactions. All that to say, basically, it boosts the playability of a LEGO set. If you have an X-Wing, you can pop a Smart Brick on it and swoosh it around and it'll make swooshing noises. Or you could run over a minifig with a car and the minifig will scream. That is a real feature that they showed. Alright, so now come over here and let me show you my box of what is the internet saying about this. Let's have a peek.
Most of us build sets to look at them, not to play with them every day.
Do I think this will succeed? No.
So not only do you need the LEGO set for $100, you're gonna have to have a smart.
I can't wait to improperly dispose of these in the regular garbage can.
Yikes. The Smart Play system is very controversial, and everyone's got an opinion. But I wanted to talk to people with some credibility. More credibility than just adult LEGO fan. So this episode, we're going to dive into the highs and lows of the LEGO Smart Brick and learn all about LEGO's newest, biggest innovation. I'm Eric Crittenden. This is Clutch Power, a show about the ways we love LEGO. Episode 7. Just how smart is this brick? In part 1, an interview with Graham E. Hancock, editor of Blocks magazine. He was one of the few people who actually got his hands on the Smart Brick and played around with it. And in part 2, I sit down with Rachel Franz of Fairplay, a children's well-being group. Fairplay came out with a pretty strong anti-Smart Brick statement, and I wanted to hear more about her concerns. Alright, let's open that box back up and jump in. Part 1. Are you smarter than a Smart Brick? In 2017, LEGO's creative team put their heads together and did a ton of research into what kids were actually into. They found 3 things. First, kids wanted a toy that allowed them to play with their friends. Second, kids wanted their actions to matter and their toys to respond to them. And third, kids wanted an experience that evolved over time. With all that, LEGO's mission was pretty straightforward. Make LEGO more alive somehow. Make the LEGO movie real. Make my minifigs do my dishes. LEGO really didn't want to involve a screen, which I respect. And after hundreds of prototypes, they came up with a Smart Brick. It's a little 2x4 brick that can snap onto LEGO models. It can detect other Smart Bricks and smart minifigs and smart tags. And according to LEGO, this is pretty new territory. They've said they've never had this level of technical production, and they're really excited about it. Here's a LEGO rep giving a demo at CES, the tech conference they unveiled this thing at.
So you hear the door unlock, the engine this up. As I move the car around, you'll see it respond. Even swerving around corners. Maybe I'm gonna crash it. Kids do that.
Right? He's so pumped for it. Isn't that fun? Right now, LEGO only has 3 smart sets on offer, 3 Star Wars sets. The smallest is $70, then $100, then $160. And honestly, it's the prices that are generating most of the controversy. But I think what's more important here is the end user experience. Like, what does this thing feel like in your hands? Unfortunately, I was not at CES, so I cannot speak to that. But Graham E. Hancock can. He's a writer and editor for Blocks magazine, and he got some hands-on time with the Smart Brick. What were your initial impressions of the Smart Brick?
Yeah, so my initial reaction was that I was just really impressed by the fact that all of the technology has been compacted into this tiny space, because obviously we've seen kind of tech-based toys and things before. There are products out there that have some of the properties that the Smart Brick has, where it can kind of sense the movement and all this sort of thing. But I think the thing that's special about this is the fact that it is all in the space of a Lego brick. I think that's something that's really quite unique and really special about this particular thing.
Yeah, and you got your hands on it.
Yeah, so the guy showed us a demo for the most part and kind of rattled through all sorts of different things that it can do. And then we did get to have a little hands-on play ourselves as well. And I think it was just really fun waving an X-Wing around and hearing the different responses. And I mean, the space that we were doing it in was really big and quite echoey and things. So to be honest, I'm reserving kind of full judgment until I can get it in my hands in my home and kind of have it in a more normal environment and really hear how loud the sounds are and things like that. But the initial take was that it was really fun because, like you, I'm sure, Eric, I build an awful lot of Lego sets. I spend a lot of time playing with Lego. So any time that there's something really novel and different like these sets, I'm all there for it. I'm really, really keen to get my hands on it and play with it.
So for people on the floor who saw the Smart Brick in person, maybe even got to demo it, what was kind of their impression? Could you tell?
People seem to be having fun with it. I think that was the thing that I took away. Like, no one was looking at these models and going, oh my goodness, my Ultimate Collector Series X-Wing, my Ultimate Collector Series TIE Fighter, they're going in the garage, these ones are going on the shelf. No one was saying that. But people were having fun with it. They were kind of flying the things around. They were making the minifigures duel. And I think that was the takeaway. It was that this was something that people were having fun with.
Yeah, I think that's the difference right now between people who are actually there and people who just have opinions on the internet.
Well, and, I totally get why people are kind of looking at it and maybe shrugging their shoulders or being frustrated by the price, because it isn't going to be for everyone. And I think that's the other thing to bear in mind, that one of the challenges that the whole toy industry faces at the moment is that children are aging out of toys earlier and switching over to video games for more of their leisure time. So what toy companies are having to do is think about ways to make the toy compelling for kids in a different way. Younger kids than you would expect just want to collect Lego sets and put them on a shelf, like Labubu's or something, where it just sits there and it's not necessarily super toyetic. Whereas if this Smart Brick encourages a kid to pick up that X-Wing off the shelf just to fly it around and hear the sound, that's probably going to trigger a longer play session and hopefully get them playing with it beyond the Smart Brick and doing other things with it. The Lego Group haven't explicitly said that was what they're doing with this, but that's something that I can see as a possible impetus for putting this kind of technology into bricks, is to get kids physically interacting with those toys in a playful way that they might not otherwise.
Yeah, and I know one of the big things with the research was no screens, early on.
Yes. Although this particular project has been a 10-year journey for the Lego Group, they have been investigating putting technology and electricity and different things into bricks for decades. So it's not like this is just the Lego Group chasing the latest tech crazes or anything. And in the current issue of Blocks magazine, which has got Iron Man on the cover, and in the previous one that's got Star Trek on the cover, we've delved into some of these historical examples of the Lego Group trying to fit technology into 2x4 bricks, or trying to put different responsive things into Lego bricks.
It seems sort of like the next evolution of the Mario sets.
Yeah, I think there's definite similarities there, and that was something that we asked the Lego Group about at the event. And I think what they highlighted as what they see as the difference is that because a lot of the technology is pre-packaged in Mario, it's not as modular as this is going to be. In the sense that with this, you've got the smart brick, but then depending what smart tags and minifigures you kind of associate with it is going to create different reactions. And you can imagine that there's going to be different combinations of reactions depending what things you put together with it. And multiple smart bricks can have effects on one another and create different reactions. Whereas now, I mean, I personally see a big similarity with Mario because their intention there was to create that modular thing where children would test and learn and adapt and build their own games and things. So I think maybe the way to think about this is almost like the next level from that, the next level of modularity and the next way to get children almost thinking in a slightly coding way themselves as they experiment what they can do with it.
What is sort of your impression or opinion on this, the smart play system?
I think about something like Bionicle, right, that came out 25 years ago. And everyone's reaction who was a hardcore Lego fan was like, this isn't Lego. What is this? This is terrible. This isn't a Lego set. I was a kid at the time playing with my Lego Star Wars and things, I looked at Bionicle and it's like, no, this isn't Lego. Like my younger brother had some of it and it was just, that's not a Lego set. I had no interest in it. But then when you actually look at it and delve deeper and see how the building system behind it works, the fact that it is almost its own system and the creativity that fans have kind of shown with that in the years since it finished, Bionicle has made its mark and was a big sort of 10-year thing from the Lego group. And that's why I don't think we should discount smart play just because on the initial reaction is mainly focusing on the sets doing lights and sounds and things like that. I think what fans should perhaps consider is where it could go in the future. And that's what's got me excited because it's starting with the smart brick that's always at the core of everything, the tiles and the minifigures that create different reactions and responses. But if you think what's inside the smart brick, the color sensor, pressure sensor, the fact that depending how you move it, it's going to respond in a different way, the fact they respond to each other. If you think about what other elements could be introduced to this system down the line, like maybe there's another brick that has a little function built into it, and the smart brick could trigger that. And, you start to kind of get carried away with the things that they could potentially do with it. And I think that's where we should watch it and see what happens, because I think the potential of this thing is probably down the line. I think this initial product launch, my suspicion is that this is just the kind of opening salvo. This is just the first few tricks and things that it can do.
I don't know. For me, what is interesting to watch is how, I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but Lego is making it to be such a big deal. And then the sets, I feel, do not match up to that level of hype. I think the potential, to your point, is much more exciting than what we actually have right now, which I think is maybe why people are kind of upset.
I suspect there's a number of reasons why the level of hype and the level of promotion that Lego have put behind it is what it is. I suspect one of the reasons is that this has been a 10-year project. And now that they're launching it, they want that to pay off. So I strongly suspect that the Lego group want to make sure that every possible consumer on the planet knows that Lego Smart Play is here, and that's why the level of promotion is there. It's easy for parents and children to understand what these current smart sets do. You fly the X-Wing around, you get a response. You refuel it, you get a response. And that's why I think they've probably launched with things that are very decodable, lights, sounds, reactions. And again, as I say, that's why I think the stuff to watch might be coming later. The stuff that's probably more interesting to adult fans and things.
I mean, I know the smart brick itself, that one of the big things is it's accessible. It's a 2x4 brick, pop it on, you're good to go. Do you think the pricing of the sets is accessible for kids?
We're always frustrated by the prices of Lego sets, right? Because we always want more. And whatever the price tag is, you kind of wish it was a bit lower. Now, with these, you can see that they've got the smart brick in them. They've got the smart charger in them. I actually think it's probably more apparent with these sets why they cost more than with other Lego Star Wars sets, when sometimes you look at them and you think, how did it end up with that price tag? But I think that other sets that are going to launch, I'm assuming that not every set is going to have the smart brick and the smart brick charger in, because every smart brick is the same. So once you've got one, you can use it with any other smart brick compatible product. So I'm hoping that when they showcase the other sets, that not every single one will have the smart brick and smart charger in, and that will bring the price down.
Yeah, and again, I mean, kind of drawing comparisons back to the Mario sets, where you just have some that are $15.
Exactly, and that's it. Once you've got that Mario figure, you are away.
In part 2, a look at the implications of the Smart Play system and why some experts in the field are not happy about this whole thing. Part 2. What if I like dumb Legos? This is going to be a big shock, I'm sure, but the Smart System reminds me of Lego in the 90s. In 1998, they announced Lego Mindstorms. It was a brick you could program to do all sorts of things. Mainly for robots, but what's really interesting is how Lego pitched it. Listen.
Lego Mindstorms puts the power of robotics at your command, providing new ways to apply technology with creativity, understanding, and confidence.
And here's a quote from Lego's president and CEO from then. Quote, "Video game developers seldom pass on to children the power to construct, this power to invent, given to them by the technology. The programmable brick does just that." And just like now, in 1998, people were mad. Here's an excerpt from a ruthless New Yorker article. Quote, "The days when we could crouch down to play with Lego in the company of our kids were bound to be numbered. Childhood itself is reaching a pitch of knowledge and appetite that would flummox and exhaust your average Danish carpenter of 1932. Isn't it interesting how history is repeating itself? Of course, the smart brick comes at a very different time in the toy space, where the line between toy and tech, or even toy and AI, is blurry. Fairplay is in the middle of it. They're a child advocacy group focused on kids' well-being. A lot of companies are spending a lot of money to get kids to buy their toys. Fairplay's asking, what is actually good for kids? Rachel Franz is on their staff, and I wanted to first chat with her about the context of the smart brick. What are kids into these days? Because the answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. What kind of toys are on offer for kids right now? Like, what are kids actually into?
Typically, there are different toys on offer for kids of different sort of stages of development. So something on offer for an elementary schooler is going to be different for, a 14-year-old is going to be different from a toddler. Lego has kind of historically been of interest to all age groups, including adults. And so it sits at this really interesting place in the market where they're sort of reaching a lot of these different age groups all at once. It's interesting to think about the question, like, what are kids interested in? Like, what toys are out there for them? Because kids don't develop in bubbles. They grow up in the context of the world around them, and unfortunately, especially as we think about their creative development, right? That includes growing up in a world where corporations and commercial culture have a very powerful grip, and marketing is strong. And children certainly don't need this branded stuff, but it's presented to them and to parents as things that are like the best thing, the coolest thing. So if we look at, what children might be asking for a birthday, for example, right? We can see that the marketing machine sort of shows up here. It tends to be a lot of licensed character products, technology related things, those toys that have really powerful marketing behind them. We're also thinking about this in a world where technology is being designed to hook us. So at Fairplay, we really look at the business model of products for kids, especially technology, where the business model behind a lot of these items is based on maximizing their engagement to be able to collect more data and to get them to spend money, and it works. And then on the flip side, right, we know that if we give kids the time and space to use creative materials, use things that are open-ended, like the traditional Lego bricks, right? There's a study that was done several years back on what are called toy-free kindergartens. They're in Germany, right? And which is an interesting concept, but what happened is that for several months out of the school year, the kindergarten would remove all of its materials, except for things like cardboard and tape and glue. But what they found is that children's creativity and problem solving and work ethic, their relationships with their peers, their patience, you name it, went up. And so, I think that's an interesting example because in our society, in our commercial culture, there's this narrative that we need more and more stuff in order for kids to be entertained or be more, have more play, right? And I think it also tells us that there's a big contradiction between what kids are interested in as a result of this like marketing machine and what's actually good for them and supportive of the skills that they need to build for lifelong success.
So it's kind of two tracks. So like on what kids are actually into, the smart brick kind of seems like the natural next step.
Sure.
Yeah, but for what's best for kids, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
What is your concerns with the smart brick?
Legos have long been a part of many childhoods, and they've also long been a tool for creative play. Creative play and using your imagination is actually an essential component of children's development and how they learn. And when Lego is at their best, in terms of supporting children's development, they are open-ended tools by which children can use their imaginations to kind of create whatever they want, to add noises and voices and move them around in ways that match whatever's going on in their head. It's really how we as humans learn to problem solve, how kids learn to regulate their emotions and think creatively. And it's also how they kind of test out their theories about the world, and they can sort of give voice to some of their problems or things they're curious about and sort of, learn some of the different concepts or rules or ways of operating in the world. Our work at Fairplay and my work as a child development specialist, we use this lens that asks what is best for children developmentally, and our products offering what will serve children the best, right? And so if we look at the Lego's new Smart Play system, we get concerned because it starts to be at odds with that creative and imaginative play that children need. Some people might think that, you're adding this level of technology so you can do more, but what we're concerned about is that those true creative opportunities become displaced. And when we think about that, one of the things that we look at is, how many imaginative possibilities are coming out of a toy. In this case, the play becomes even more scripted. So children's play is kind of reduced to the capabilities of whatever smart tag they have, whatever the capabilities of the the smart brick are, and the minifigures that are powered by this technology. And now we have a situation where kids might be relying on the smart brick system to, make their sound effects for their X-Wing or whatever it is that they're playing with. And so we get concerned when those the toys do most of the playing, as opposed to the child doing the most of the playing, which is better for their development.
Yeah. And even the marketing around the smart brick has been like, take your imagination to the next step, bring your imagination to life.
Right. as humans, our brains are wired to seek out things that are new and shiny. And this is especially true for kids whose impulse control doesn't develop until adulthood and is particularly vulnerable during those sort of early childhood and elementary school years when a lot of Lego marketing focuses. And so we always want to make sure that when a new product is coming out, it's not coming out based on the ability for a company to take advantage of children's development and where they're at. And, it gives us a little bit of pause when, the marketing for the Smart Play system so far has included pictures of young kids, and it's a new and shiny thing. So we like to pause and really think deeply about how it might actually affect them.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you guys step in.
There are certainly many companies right now that are turning to or creating smart toys of some form or another. And there are many that are much more egregious and much more problematic than the smart system, right? We've been studying AI toys, which are your everyday stuffed animals with AI chatbots embedded into them. Smart toys have sort of been a trend over the last decade or so. What we've been sort of sitting on is that there's not research that shows that any particular smart toy has benefited kids, right? I think there is research to show that having a toy that talks back and that sort of thing most often actually harms children's development because they're less likely to talk to their peers. They're kind of playing with this script of whatever that toy can provide them with. And then when we add technology like Wi-Fi connectivity or Bluetooth or AI, right, then we have privacy concerns and, the whole 9 yards there, sort of beyond that, that manipulation of their relationship building and their creativity, et cetera.
Yeah.
The other piece of the concern that has come up for us, and it's still sort of a question mark on how this system will look, right? But in theory, if you have a product where in order to make something happen, you need a specific smart tag, right? It's very possible that it could pressure kids into feeling like they need to collect more and more smart tags in order for their Legos to perform the way that they want to perform them, right? So you need a car tag in order to make your car sound like a car, a duck to sound like a duck. But what if that doesn't come in the package that you buy? Are families then going to sort of be pressured to buy more and more so that kids can actually play out what's in their imaginations? If they want to build an ostrich, right? There's no ostrich tag as of yet, right? So, I think we look at that as part of the business model, right? It's encouraging more and more consumption, but it's also inequitable, right? Like it's encouraging families who may not have that money to spend more in order for their children to get the most out of the product. And, especially when it's actually better for children to give their own voices and noises to their creations, it can also impact their development in that way and in ways that's really unfair to them.
So if there are any parents listening who are considering getting the smart brick for the kids, what is sort of your message for them?
I never want to blame families for purchasing any particular product, especially a tech related product for children, because the marketing machine behind tech in general is so strong. And there is this message in our society that says that our kids need tech early and often in order to be successful later in life. And there's no evidence to show that that's true. In fact, there is evidence to show that children need like hands-on, non-technological play in order to develop a lot of the skills that they need later in life, and that delaying technology actually doesn't harm kids. And so the first message is that your kids don't need this product. It's not necessary for their development. There's no research showing that it will enhance their play or their learning, etc. The other thing is, families should feel free to make decisions around whatever they feel is best for their children. And if they're choosing to purchase a toy like this, just making sure to, stay involved, provide lots of time when the smart play system is not in use with their regular Legos, making sure they're not becoming dependent on it for their play, because that's really where the potential harm or displacement of that actual play can come from.
My goal with this episode was to give you multiple perspectives. Graham is excited by the smart brick, Rachel, not so much. I also want to link an excellent opinion piece by R.R. Slugger down below. Slugger's takes are always so well thought out. Even if you don't agree with him, he always has such an interesting perspective. I'm really curious to see how the smart brick does. Will it be popular, or, will it sputter out like Hidden Side or The Life of George, or even, dare I say it, Galador? Anyway, that's the show. Thank you to Graham and Rachel and the many others I reached out to with pretty short notice. This was a quick one to put together. It got my blood pumping in a way I haven't felt since my news days. And thank you for listening. If you want to support the show, please share it by word of mouth, tell a friend, tell your online Lego buddies, and of course, following the podcast everywhere is a huge help. It's the same handle wherever you go, clutchpower.pod. If you want to step up even more, become a patron. You'll get extra content for most episodes, not this one just because short notice, but you do get a special digital Lego mock. For this episode, you're going to get a portrait of the smart brick upon its graduation from college. Cap, gown, diploma, the works. All right, my name's Eric Crittenden. This has been Clutch Power. Stay connected.